All right.
So how did you get to this office?
That was a very long and interesting story. We started off at an abandoned warehouse with a bunch of rats. That eventually got sold, so we got kicked out of that. We moved into
Our parents' house
for about a few years, and then we got our first yard by Hobby Airport.
The mobile trailer office.
Mobile trailer, that's where our trucks are right now. We have a little small office there, and we just moved into this place about 6 or 7 months ago. So we're really excited to show you guys what we have.
So for me, my name is Wisam Nahhas. I'm Wolff Center class of 2011. I was born and raised in Houston. My entrepreneurship journey starts when I was very young. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was about 10 years old. Started out selling candy in middle school for a profit, whereas, I started buying it wholesale from Sam's, selling it at school for a good profit, and realized then that I was like, yeah, I'll never work for a company. I need to do this, but at a much larger scale. And so from there, that escalated to selling electronics on eBay, then selling products overseas. And then basically I graduated high school, hadn't had a normal job even in high school. And my cousin actually had just graduated from the Wolff Center class of 2006. He told me about it, but my parents were like, hey, you need to be an engineer. And so I actually started off as a chemical engineer major and then a pre-law major as well, just to kind of make my parents happy. And about a year and a half into it, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing either of these things. And that's when I basically applied for the Wolff Center for entrepreneurship program. And I got in right away and basically realized that, like, hey, now I'm actually gonna get to enjoy college because it was something that I wanted to do my whole life. And from there, basically everything was going well. And I actually ran into Nour about a year into the program. I've known Nour for 20 years, childhood friends. I ran into him, and I guess I'll let him tell you what happened at that point.
Yeah, so my name is Nour, Baki, class of 2013. I was born and raised here in Houston. I moved to Egypt for a little bit for high school and a little bit of college. And at that time, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My whole family overseas are all entrepreneurs. And so one summer I decided to come back to Houston to visit. Some of my childhood buddies, so we caught up. That was the summer of '09. And he told me about the Wolff Center. He just got into it. And it was something that intrigued me. And I looked into it a little bit further, and that's something I decided to do. I wanted to pursue that. And so I got back to Egypt and I transferred right back to UVH as soon as I could, with the intent of getting into the Wolff Center and becoming an entrepreneur one day. And that's kind of how our adventure started with all this stuff. So that was day one.
So how did you find the Wolff Center for Entrepreneurship?
Well, like I said, the Wolff Center for Entrepreneurship pretty much found me. I was at a point where I was like a year into college and I was like, I think calculus like 3, and I was like, yeah, it's not what, I don't care about this. I want to build a business. And so it was definitely a struggle for my parents. Like, they're like, what does that mean? Like, you need to be an engineer, you need to do this, do that. And so I found the program found me. I applied. I talked to my cousin. He kind of inspired me to apply for the program because he had explained to me how it worked and what you learn, what you get out of it. And that's what I wanted to do. And so I applied and, I got in.
So what was your experience like at Wolff Center?
My experience with the Wolff Center was interesting, to say the least. We were a transitional, I think, the class they were transitioning directors in the Wolff Center. And so we didn't get a lot of the retreat aspect of it. A lot of the camaraderie kind of wasn't there. And it's not to be a negative thing. It was just a transitional period, and we kind of dealt with that. To me, it benefited a lot because I didn't really care for the school aspect of it, like the coursework and the cases. I didn't care too much about it, but what we did focus on was mentorship and roundtables, and actually, I met Frank Vega, who's my mentor in the program, and is still my mentor, and he's our investor in our first venture, second venture, and now this venture, and he's opened the doors to a lot of other investors, a lot of other business opportunities, and so. My experience with the Wolff Center was basically that I met Frank Vega, and I always tell people that was the one, long-lasting, my reflection of the program was that I met a mentor that I still work with today.
What about you? What was your experience like?
It was also interesting. Class of 2013, we were the first class to move into the new building. I was a very quiet student, didn't really talk much. I sat in the back corner always. Me and Ken Jones butted heads a lot for some reason. But one of the best things I experienced from the Wolff Center was, like Wisam mentioned, the mentorship and the networking effect that it has. Frank was also my roundtable mentor, my personal mentor, Dimitri. Till this day, we talk at least once a month. We hang out once a month, and we're still very close. And overall, it was a good experience. But for me, I was one of the few students that actually started their business while in the program. So Wisam and I had started a gaming studio while I was there, and so the lessons that we were learning in the Wolff Center, I was directly applying to what we were trying to build. And so I think I got the most out of the Wolff Center that I could have.
So tell us about that first venture.
Oh boy. So Wisam had just graduated. He was in corporate America. I had just got into the Wolff Center, and I kept hounding him, hey man, like we need to start an actual business. We didn't go to the Wolff Center just to like become managers at a corporation. And so over the course of 6 or 7 months, I finally broke him down to start. We started really thinking about what type of business we wanted to open, and we went through a whole list of dumb ideas. But we settled on. So at the time, mobile gaming was pretty big. So right, we had but basically a bunch of apps that were basically board game copies. They were selling for millions upon millions of dollars, and so we wanted to just basically do our own version of that. Find a board game that didn't exist in an app form, and build it, and figure out a way to build it. And I remember that first night, we kind of like wireframe that whole thing. And
Yeah. So the biggest trick was though that I was working full time at the time, and he was just graduating, and we basically wanted to develop an app, and we don't know how to even write a line of code. Like we're not coders at all. And so we just, looked online, how do you make an app? And it's like, first thing you do is you wireframe. You make the different screens and how they interact. And I was like, okay, cool, I've done PowerPoint. Sounds about similar to that. And so literally we used PowerPoint, made a bunch of screens. Even that wasn't good enough. Then we just started printing out papers and putting them on like a big poster board, which I still have. And from there, we're like, okay, cool, we finished this. The whole thing flows, it works, everything works. Now, how do we develop this? And we started getting quotes from people here in the States, and it was like $100,000, $200,000 to develop an app. I'm like, we don't have any money. We have maybe 20 grand between me, him, and at the time my brother was like, I'll pitch in too. And so we quickly learned that, like, number one, I had to quit my job because it was taking too much of our time. I couldn't dedicate enough time to the business. He was working on it full time, I wasn't. And so I ended up just quitting my job with just a wireframe poster board. And from there, we quickly were like, give me your $7 grand, I'll take my $7 grand. My brother put in $7 grand, went to India and developed a whole prototype. We gave him the poster board, and it was like a really like miserable 4 months.
Yeah, it was a crash course in project management.
Yeah.
And especially in an area we had no experience in, like development, we had no idea what that was like. So we learned a lot.
How to manage people, how
Yeah.
how very specific you need to be when you're doing technology
Yeah.
and development. But that was about 4 to 6 months. We got a prototype out of it, and it was like on life support, but it was working. Like it was
Somehow
like,
it was
yeah, it was hard coded. It was whatever. It worked, and it flowed. It didn't look very good, but it worked. Released that, and quickly the people that started using the app were loving it. It was working, but
on a small scale.
On a small scale. But what they were saying was that it looks clunky. It's slow. It's X, Y, and Z. But the content was good. The idea was working. And so from there, immediately we took that idea to my mentor from the Wolff Center, Frank Vega, and I was like, hey, look at this. Look what we built here. And he's like, that's my favorite board game, and it works. And he started playing it with his wife and kids and with his family and friends, and everyone liked it. But they're like, yeah, this can't scale. This won't go. People aren't gonna, work on this app nationwide. And so from there, we were like, we need to redevelop the whole thing in the States.
Yeah. Back
to those $100,000, $200,000 quotes. It was like, we need to get that money.
So we applied to the Houston Angel Network. They had a pitch event. We went up there, we pitched. We actually closed about $120,000. The idea for our raise was basically redesign the app, make it look nice, clean, and then also there would be a marketing budget. And our goal was to really market the heck out of this thing, get as many downloads as you can, and then from there you get all these millions of organic downloads, and then we'll be all be millionaires. That was the whole premise of it all. And we spent that summer. So I graduated May of 2013. That summer, we raised that money. We built the new app. We hired a bunch of
seven developers here.
Really good developers here in Houston, and we built it. And I think it was September, October. That was launch date. We were ready to launch, And we launched, and we spent, I think, $50,000 or $60,000, $70,000 in marketing. One day, just blew it all. And we quickly realized
Was enough?
It was not enough. We were nowhere near the 1 million downloads that we needed to get where we wanted to be.
I think we cracked the top 100 in the App Store at the time, but to get to the top 10, you needed like 100 times more money. And so this time around, we got way more users. I think it was like 150,000 users, and the reviews this time were all 5-star. They didn't say anything about the clunkiness. They didn't say anything about that. People were retaining users, and so we're like, now we need to go raise $2 million to market it properly. And so at the time, we went back to our investors, we're like, hey, we spent all your money. We're gonna go out to California and raise $2 million this time and blow it all on marketing. And so we had a bunch of discussions with actually Mattel. Mattel was like, hey, we're gonna buy the game from you, and we're gonna basically rebrand it as a board game that we kind of based it off of and relaunch it with our marketing plan. So we're like, at that point, like, awesome, we made it. We have a meeting with the VP of gaming for all of Mattel, and they're flying us out there and everything. And so this was about 2014.
Early 2014.
Early 2014, we fly out there with anticipation that we're going to sell the game to him for like $2 million. And basically, about 30 minutes before the meeting, she's like, hey, can you send us over the proposal that you guys have for this game? He was showering. And he gets out of the shower, and I got the email back from her saying that, like, oh yeah, we're not even like remotely close. We pay you maybe, $100,000 for the whole game. That's what it would take us to build in India. And I'm like, he comes out of the shower all happy, and I'm like, yeah, dude, the meeting's canceled. We got to get back to Houston. Like, we don't have any more money. We're done. They're not buying the game. And essentially, we're back to square one.
Yeah, that was a low point.
Yeah.
Super low point, because that was pretty much our last hope to try to get something out of this game. We'd taken all these people's money, put a lot of almost two and a half years of effort from our side to build this thing, and this was the first time where things weren't working out for us. And so that's when I called my mentor, Dimitri. This is where he comes into play. We were extremely depressed, very upset.
Started polishing our resumes that same night.
We're like, yep, we're gonna go to corporate America.
Yeah.
That's it for us. And I called Dimitri upset, and he gave me basically a speech I'll never forget. He basically told me, like, hey, if you quit now, you're never ready for the rest of your life. Do not go back to Houston. Try to figure something out over there in California.
Yeah, we'd already paid for 3 weeks over there.
Might as well stay.
So we might as well stay there and see what we can figure out.
We're like, okay, let's go try to get these VC meetings and see if we can raise any money out here in California. So we met with some of the top VCs in California, Sequoia, Crosscut, a whole bunch of people. And every meeting, I wore my WCE jersey, blazer, walked in, told them it was WC alum, blah, blah, and nobody gave a crap about that. We got shot down in every VC meeting.
But what they did tell us was that, like, you guys are late to the gaming aspect of it, but hey, have you seen Uber? Have you seen Airbnb? Have you seen all these guys that are using apps for technology, for businesses, like traditional businesses that are leveraging technology? And so that same night after we got shot down, they gave us that pep talk, and we went to actually a hookah bar in Los Angeles.
Of all places,
yeah. I think it was our last like $30 that we had, and from there we were just literally smoking. I'm like, dude, like, don't you hate getting gas? Like, don't you just really hate going to the gas station? I mean, you do it every week. Car just sits there. I'm just sitting there smoking. I'm like, hey, well, why not like just have a truck come and deliver fuel to your car, like Uber style? Like, you literally put a pinpoint to your car and they come and deliver fuel to it.
I thought he was high.
Yeah, he's like, what's in that hookah or something? He's like, what are you saying? That's illegal. Like,
you lost it, man.
So we literally go back. We left that place, went straight back to the apartment or the Airbnb at the time of all places. It was like, and we're like, started researching regulations. Like, dude, it's not regulated. Like, you can deliver fuel. Like, there's no regulations. If there's no regulations, you can do it. And so we quickly, like that same night, came up with the idea.
Wireframe did.
Wireframe did the same thing how we started the first business. We wireframed it all. And we're like, now we know the developers. Now we have to go convince them to work for free because we had no more money to build this out and like develop it. And so we did all that, and then 3-4 days later, when we went to go pitch it to them, they're like, everyone was kind of on board with it, and we go to register the name of the company, and we found a different company that was out at the same time, called the same thing, doing the same exact thing for B2C consumers, but they hadn't really launched yet. They had just done the app. And so using what we kind of learned at the Wolff Center, networking, went on LinkedIn, just started messaging these people like, hey, dude, like, we don't want to start from scratch. We want to join you guys and essentially jump on board with you guys and not start from scratch, but we'll like come help you guys. And so that was the case. We joined them for a small piece of equity at the time to basically build out their sales.
Hi, my name is Nour Baki.
My name is Nahhas. Start over, so keep rolling.
Hi, my name is Nour Baki.
My name is Nahhas, and we're Fuel Me.
Fuel Me is an on-demand gas delivery service. We deliver gas directly to your car, so you never have to waste time at a gas station again.
They want to target, large universities and companies that had a lot of employees. And so we went out and got the University of Houston. We almost had the Texas Medical Center here in Houston. And we ran that for a year with, again, no money for a year. And it took us a year to get those contracts in place. And then after the year happened, everything was set up. The app was ready. The trucks were ready. Everything was ready to launch. We launched for about 6 months at the University of Houston. Yeah, so we did like a soft launch for the summer of 2015. Again, a bunch of hype, got a lot of press, got a lot of PR. We launched, had about a few thousand users using the app, but the adoption rate wasn't as high as we'd hope. So another kind of wrench thrown our way. We're not sure why. We had our theories why. Maybe consumers don't like the delivery fee. Maybe it's just not a big of a pain point for them. It's only once a week, once every 10 days that they get gas. And while we were going through this whole hype train with this fueling thing, we got a lot of businesses calling us. Landscaping guys or delivery service that had like 5 trucks, 5 vans. And like, hey, can you guys fill me up at night? We're like, sure, why not? We might as well. We got nothing else to do. And I remember doing the first night of fills, we'd make more money with 1 hour doing B2B than we'd make the 8 hours at U of H. And so a light bulb kind of clicked on our head, and we're like, maybe we should be targeting customers like this and not the whole consumer kind of business. But it wasn't our decision. Yeah, it wasn't our decision. We didn't have control of the company. We talked to our partners. They didn't see the sexiness of it. Yeah, B2B wasn't sexy. It wasn't as appealing. And so, come September 2015, we decided that we made a decision like, hey, we want to do this business solely for businesses, and we're going to do it on our own because other partners didn't want to do it. And so the breaking point actually was, remember Shark Tank? Yeah. So Shark Tank had an audition thing at U of H. We went to apply. This was like our last. Like, if we don't get this, then maybe it wasn't meant to be. And so we applied. We auditioned at U of H. They loved us. We went through the entire audition process. We made videos and all this crazy stuff that we were doing, trying to get on TV. And about a month or so into that, they called us and were like, hey, look, we really want to put you guys on Shark Tank, but we need the majority of the partners to agree on this before we can let you on. And when we talked to our partners, they're like, nope, there's no way we're going to be on Shark Tank. Not going to happen. We don't feel comfortable doing that stuff. We don't need it. I don't know, yada, yada, yada. And at this point, we were just pulling our hair out because we're trying everything to try to grow this thing and try to get adoption up and try to build a hype around this. And it just wasn't working. And on top of that, we weren't getting paid. So we're like, you know what? Let's try to do this on our own. And so I think in September, October, we decided to leave. We eventually left Fuel Me. We opened up Instafuel the next day, and our sole purpose was B2B fueling, targeting small to medium-sized businesses.
Are you still going to the gas station? Controlling your fuel costs takes a lot of time and energy. The price you pay at the pump is not your true cost of fuel. What about all the time your drivers waste sitting at the gas station? What about all the pain your accounting department endures controlling fuel costs? And how do you ensure there's no fuel theft currently happening in your fleet? So you might be asking, is there a better way? The answer is Instafuel. Instafuel brings the gas station to you. We keep your fleet topped off so your drivers never have to stop at the pump again. We refuel gasoline vehicles, diesel vehicles, and equipment. The entire refueling burden of your staff is replaced by a single Instafuel technician, so they can be more productive at what they do best. We track exactly how much fuel goes into each asset, and your data is made readily available via your Instafuel dashboard. No more waste, no more hassle, no more uncertainty.
Anyone that has a fleet, delivery, landscaping, food and beverage, whatever. And we started with my little pickup truck, a little 100-gallon tank that we installed on it. And I was doing fills every single night, and I was making $200 every 2 weeks. That was my first entrepreneurial salary I ever made. And we did that for about 6 months. We forgot a very key point. So I'll keep on bringing back up Frank Vega.
He was tracking us with the gaming studio. Obviously lost his money in the gaming studio. We sold it, but it didn't really make much money. So he kept on tracking us. He liked the Fuel Me idea, which is the B2C, but he's like, he actually tried to invest, but he wasn't able to. And so we came to him, we're like, hey dude, we want to do this for business to business. Will you give us, will you fund us? And he's like, I'll fund you guys, $50,000 to get this off the ground, assuming, you guys are on your own. And so we left, and sure enough, he wrote us a check, $50,000. I'll never forget that. It was on a handshake. He writes a check and gives us $50,000. We start Instafuel that next day, and then 6 months later, things are taking off. Now we're in Dallas, we're growing, and we're like, we need more money. He doubles up, puts in, another couple $100,000. And so from that standpoint, we knew that we had a real business. We at that point had maybe 10 customers, but they kept on paying us. Every week they pay us. Every week they do just everything was working flawlessly. And we're like, now we need more capital to grow this business in more areas, because this was a capital intensive business. You have to buy trucks. And so from there, we started hiring out our team, started getting more salespeople. We raised more money from angel investors. I think we had about 7 angel investors, raised a couple $1 million to get us where we are today. And we've just recently been ranked the number 5 fastest growing company in Texas by Inc. 5000. So that's something that, it's a credit to all the employees we have, but it's also a credit to our investors, a credit to, obviously our work, but it's working. Our growth rates have, every year we're doubling up 100%. In year 5, or this year 5, we've grown 100% over last year. And we expect that to continue to grow. And a lot of the stuff can be attributed back from, 2011 when I graduated Wolff Center. I envisioned it, and someone told me back then that it'll take you 10 years. From when you start your entrepreneurship journey to when you make it takes 10 years, and this is year 8 for me. So, hopefully it stays at 10 years, because it's been a very difficult journey for me personally. I know for him as well. And now we're seeing the fruits of it, and it feels good. And it really feels good to be able to not only, it's good for me personally and good for him personally, but we have 40 employees. It's going to be 100 at the end of this year. And to know that, you're able to support these people and their families, that feeling you'll never replace with money. Money doesn't mean anything, but when you have 40 families that are living off this company, and that's what keeps me up. That's what gets me up in the morning, and what keeps me up at night is making sure that, this keeps on growing for me, for him, for our investors, and for everyone involved.
So how do you approach going into new markets for Instafuel?
So we've built a base now to where a lot of our customers will operate in multiple cities. So we'll identify a market. For example, we just launched Austin May of last year. And a lot of our customers in Dallas and in Houston had operations in Austin. So right off the get-go, we were able to utilize a few trucks quickly as soon as we opened up Austin. And over the course of 3 years, being the first salespeople of the business, we knew what industries to go after. We knew what industries would really love our service, which ones would be really hard to sell to. And we just attacked our core customer base over there. And to give you an example, what took us 2 years to build in Dallas took only about 3 or 4 months to do in Austin, just in terms of customer base size and number of employees and all that stuff. So we've kind of mastered opening up new markets.
And we've built a base of national accounts. So a lot of this business revolves. When we and him were selling early on, first salespeople, we'd go after the mom and pop ones, which was cool. I mean, they were easy to pick off. They were easy to convince to use our service. But what was more difficult was the national accounts. And so we hit our stride about last year, started calling a bunch of national accounts, and signed a couple up, and those have been able to help us expand to new markets. So we'll be using those guys, as Nour mentioned, to open new markets profitably, and not have to blow through a bunch of capital to get stuff off the ground.
Give us your 30-second pitch for Instafuel.
So Instafuel. So we believe that the gas station model is going to slowly disappear across the country. For various reasons. The main reason really is being real estate costs. It doesn't make sense anymore to have a gas station in the middle of a metropolitan city where you're only making a few cents a gallon. And so we're seeing that in San Francisco, New York, Vancouver, for example, has no gas stations inside. In the metropolitan area of Vancouver, there are no gas stations. And so this is going to happen across, we think the next decade or so. And so when gas stations go away, who's going to come and refuel? How are you going to get your gas? And we believe that the last drop of fuel to ever go into a combustion engine will come from a truck, not a gas station. And so we believe, the way we want to build our business is we target B2B fleets, go after, there's no reason for them to go to the gas station. You're paying the labor to go sit there, you're losing productivity of your trucks, and it's just a pain in the butt to deal with the receipts and all the issues that come with going to the gas station. With Instafuel, you get a professional on your property refueling all your vehicles, and everything is tracked in real time. So there's no theft happening, there's no misallocation of gallons. Everything's 100% transparent and sent to you, for all that data sent to you to analyze for yourself.
What's the biggest lesson that you've taken out of Wolff Center?
Yeah.
You should do that.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest lesson out of the Wolff Center was that basically you get what you put into anything. If you put in a lot of effort, you'll get a lot of reward. If you don't, you won't. And that applied in the Wolff Center. Obviously, if you took the mentorships seriously, took the roundtables seriously, then you got good relationships out of them. You got, long-term, you learn life lessons from people. And if you didn't, you didn't. So in the business world, it applies the exact same way. So as for over the last 4 years, every business card, every person you meet at some point will come back and benefit you. I mean, maybe they won't, but there's always a chance, and it happens every couple months to us. We're like, oh, you remember that person we met? You remember that person? Maybe we could reach out to them. And there's been countless number of business, customers, investors, deals that have happened because of relationships that have been built over the last 10 years. So that's my biggest lesson is that don't be afraid to meet new people, don't be afraid to network, and at some point it's gonna work out for you.
Yeah, I think my same. I'm gonna mimic what Wisam said. It's really about having people come into the Wolff Center and speak about their stories and give you some advice on stuff like on their experience. It didn't apply to me while I was doing it, while I was in the program, but some of those lessons really helped us, resonated with us when the time came to use it.
Yeah.
And so those guest speaker events that happen at Wolff Center really, they may not help you now, but throughout your journey, they will definitely come into play. And so it's really about who you know. You cannot build this by yourself, and you're gonna need a lot of help from a lot of different people. So yeah.
What's the wisdom that you want to impart on the next generation of entrepreneurs?
For me, it's pretty much just part of the same answer as the last one, but just listen and absorb as much information as you can. I'm not a person that carries a notepad and writes stuff. People call me out all the time. Hey, you never write anything, and that's fine. It's probably not. I probably should be writing more stuff down, but honestly, I'm just a listener. I like to listen a lot, and I decipher what's important to me, what's not, and I always reflect on those, things that people told me in the past. I always remember them, and I'm like, okay, make sure that, whatever wisdom that someone tells you that doesn't go in one ear and comes out the other. Make sure you keep it with you, because at one point you're going to use it. That's my wisdom.
For me, it's more about you have to make sure your why of why you're doing whatever you want to do has to be strong enough throughout your entrepreneurial journey. I think Dave used to tell that to us all the time, because during the tough times, if your why isn't strong enough, it's gonna break and you're gonna give up. And so, my why throughout my journey was, I wanted to have a good story. I wanted to inspire people of our generations before us, even generations after us. And so, people want to be an entrepreneur for money or for fame or for whatever the case may be. That stuff is not going to last when times get tough. It really doesn't. And so, make sure you're committed to whatever it is. Whatever your why is, make sure you're 100% committed to it. It's the only thing you're going to have when you're broke and live with your mom. Honestly.
Yeah, and if I think to add on to that, one more thing is if you do believe in something and you're trying it out, like people say, fail quickly. That's true. You should fail quickly and fail often, because
the worst thing you want to do is get stuck with a business idea that you spend lots of money and lots of time and effort.
and we experienced that. Yeah, in our gaming studio, when we built our game and it didn't work with the first game, we actually tried like 3 or 4 other games. We're like, oh, let's try and we shouldn't have. The game, we shouldn't have done that. It cost us 6 months where we could have done something else. So fail quickly, fail often, and figure out if whatever business you're working on, someone's willing to pay for it pretty quickly. Because if someone's not willing to pay for it quickly, then chances are they're never going to pay for it.